Hi everyone! You're listening to the Hiring Talks podcast presented by Axterior, the professional recruitment platform. Here we talk about hiring, HR management, and everything related with outstanding leaders from different industries.
Hey there!
Hi everyone!
Today we have invited Lena, the outreach team lead, and Tanya, the recruiter from Jooble. We decided to invite two guests so that we could see the hiring process from different perspectives, recruiting and team leadership. You can find girls' LinkedIn profiles in the video description. In fact, Jooble is a global job search website and remote-first IT company that operates in 69 countries. But I'm sure our guest will tell us more about the company. So, girls, it's your turn.
Hello, I guess I'll start. Jooble is a product-based IT company from Ukraine that started out as a small startup founded by two students 16 years ago, and at that time Roman Prokofiev and Eugene Sobokarev created a job aggregator to search employees for their projects, and then the first version of Jooble was developed in just 6 months. But they chose the name Jooble to be associated with job search, and the brand name was derived from the word job. And then their first users were obtained through advertising in the Ukrainian subway, and they never imagined that after 10 years Jooble would be visited by 90 million people daily. And however, the global crisis in 2008 prompted them to look for new markets, and they took the risk of entering international markets. And today Jooble operates in 69 countries and was ranked among the top 10 in the jobs and employment category in the world by SimilarWeb in 2018.
Now let me tell you about our products. Jooble has 3 business models, each with its unique focus. We use innovative ideas and approaches to improve our products every day. Firstly, we have Jooble Job Aggregator, which aggregates job vacancies from 140,000 resources, including corporate websites and social networks. This product is available in 69 countries. Secondly, we have Jooble Job Board, a platform for direct job posting that's available in Ukraine, Hungary, and Romania. This product's mission is to find the perfect match between employers and candidates as soon as possible. Finally, we have Jooble Venture Lab, our innovation team that creates an ecosystem of products that help people find work and fulfill themselves professionally. For example, we are currently working on a platform for blue-collar migrant workers in the Polish market.
Girls, thank you for such extended intro to the Jooble. I'm sure that many of our listeners are working with Jooble. So our topic for today is international recruitment for a remote-first company and experience from the Jooble. According to the statistics, 16% of companies globally are fully remote. This number will go nowhere but up over the next few years. It will be very interesting to hear about Jooble hiring experience in remote work model. So, girls, what does it mean to be a remote-first company?
I guess it's the freedom to work from everywhere and to work with people from all around the world, to hire talents worldwide and to see how people can connect throughout different cultures but in one company.
But you have physical offices.
Yeah, we do. We have physical offices which now operates more like hubs in different cities in Ukraine and also in Europe.
Mm-hmm. But most of Jooble employees prefer to work remotely.
Yeah, somebody because of their pets, of their apartments, or just because they don't work in cities where we have our hubs, so to say.
Okay.
And in fact, you have quite an extensive network of employees. So how and why did the company switch to the remote model?
Well, even before the pandemic, our company had the idea to look for people who could work remotely, and we operate in more than 69 countries, as we mentioned, and some of our departments require people who speak more than 25 languages, which was challenging to find in Kyiv. And we decided to look for talent outside of Kyiv and Lutsk, where we had offices and have now. And we ended up hiring more than 350 people that way. But at that time, this approach was only used in that one department. However, during the first lockdown, we realized that people can work remotely and still achieve great results regardless of the department they work in. And since January 2021, our company has switched to a remote first format, and this allows us to hire talented people from all over the world. And it gives us Jooblers the freedom to choose where we want to work and live. And now, as I've mentioned also, our offices function more like co-working spaces where we just come to meet our colleagues, friends, and to work together, but it's not obligatory to visit them.
That's really interesting. And is it effective to work remotely in your case?
I used to think working remotely was a bad idea, but now I love it. Before, I couldn't concentrate. I thought that you can only work from office, but now I realize it's all about being able to focus and having the freedom to choose where you work. And I even used to dream about working from some sunny place like a digital nomad, but unfortunately the war changed that, and some days now I don't feel like leaving my apartment, and I want to work in total silence, and it helps me to stay productive. And I think the remote first format has made me more efficient overall. Before joining Jooble, I worked in a company where I had to come to office at 8:30 a.m. and it was my personal nightmare, especially in winter. And it took me so much time to wake up and then to go to office and then to wake up in the office. And now I'm happy to stay at home when I can just wake up 40 minutes before the workday starts, get ready, get breakfast, walk with my pet, and start to work.
I agree with Lena. I also love working remotely. I have the option to work from home or the office, and I find that I'm more productive when working remotely. It really depends on the nature of your work. As a recruiter, I have a lot of meetings, and I find it easier to focus without distractions while working from home. But you do have to be more self-disciplined when working remotely. I make sure to take regular breaks throughout the day, just like I would in the office. It's a bit more planned out through since I can't just grab a quick coffee with a colleague. I have to make sure I plan my breaks to stay refreshed and productive throughout the day.
I really think that COVID brought us such a bonus that many companies switch to the remote work model. And maybe you could share with us some secrets about international recruitment, how to attract talents from around the world.
Sure. When it comes to international recruitment, companies face fierce competition for talent because a lot of companies are hiring remotely, and it's important to stand out and grab candidates' attention. At Jooble, we use various tactics to attract talent from around the world. For instance, we don't just rely on regular job boards. We also work with influencers on YouTube to promote our opportunities. We found that creating videos about our job openings is an effective way to catch the attention of our target audience, which tends to be young professionals who are just starting their careers. In addition to posting vacancies on platforms like Indeed or LinkedIn, we also create landing pages for different positions that showcase our corporate culture and values. This gives candidates a better understanding of what it's like to work at Jooble and helps us to attract those who share our company's values. Before launching our recruitment process in a new country, we conduct research to analyze the average employee value proposition on the market and adjust our offer to suit local candidates' needs and preferences. Worth noting that flexibility is a crucial factor in attracting and retaining top talent. That's why we provide our employees with flexible working hours, even if they work in different time zones. We also offer various benefits and perks, such as covering 50% of any courses or trainings that employees are interested in. We strongly prioritize employee development and work-life balance because nowadays people don't just look for a good job role. They also pay attention to the overall work environment and what the company can offer beyond just the salary.
Wow, that's interesting, especially your cases of collaboration with influencers on YouTube. I will definitely will go and check your videos on YouTube.
Yeah, but we have videos in Portuguese, so it can be a bit challenging.
But you're welcome anyway.
Yeah.
I will turn on automated translations on YouTube. Okay, so what do you pay attention to when meeting candidates? How do you make decision about hiring or rejecting candidate?
When it comes to meeting candidates at Jooble, we follow a well-defined recruitment procedure that only a bit varies depending on the position being filled. The same procedure we have, for example, for candidates in Brazil. Typically, we have 4 stages of interviews: an initial call with a recruiter, an HR value interview, an interview with a team leader, and a final interview with top management. At each stage, we focus on different aspects of the candidate's profile and experience. During the first stage, we try to understand the candidate's expectations regarding the role, as well as organizational factors such as schedule, salary, and see if we can meet them. The second stage is the values interview, where we discuss different cases from the candidate's experience and observe if their behavior aligns with our corporate values. Our 5 core values include openness to people, dedication to work, internal locus of control, owner mindset, and development orientation. Also, we pay attention to deep product involvement. We have a values matrix that we use during the interview, where each value can be expressed at A, B, C, or D level. And at the end of the interview, we analyze how many A's or C's the candidate has to make a decision. During the interview with the team leader, we pay attention to other factors, and I think Lena can tell you more about these factors. And also at the final stage, we are looking for a match with our company for a value match.
Yeah, so I'll continue here. So I'm very picky when it comes to a new team member. Don't get me wrong, I'm pretty friendly, but the atmosphere we created in our team, it means so much to me, and I know it means a lot for my team. It's very important for me to be sure a newcomer will respect that atmosphere, and there won't be some person coming who will be pessimistic or toxic and super prejudiced, who will criticize all the idea we bring to the table or bring us down. And on the other hand, during the interview, I always try to test how curious a candidate is, how open-minded he or she is the candidate brave enough to follow his or her dreams, and how did he or her make it? Is this person afraid to make mistakes? Does he or she tend to avoid conflicts, and so on and so forth? And it's awesome when I see a candidate really is not afraid to meet the conflicts, because sometimes it's important when working on the project. And it's important for me to see that person really strives to follow his or her dreams. And yeah, in Jooble we have core values, as Tanya mentioned, and they're important to us. And I always try to discover whether the candidate shared these values as well, because every core value is in one or another way connected to what my future teammate will do in Jooble. And I don't typically do this where do you see yourself in 5 years kind of thing during the interview, but I always try to use the time with the candidate, this hour or hour and a half, to get to know what kind of person I'm talking to. And all in all, during my stage of interviews, it's primarily the soft skills I'm looking for, because hard skills will be gained during the trainings and work in Jooble.
I also want to add a few words about our experience in the Philippines, because in the Philippines we have a slightly different approach, because we hire part-time freelancers who work for a few hours a day. These candidates fill out a form and take a foreign language test, which is automatically graded. We also used video platforms for on-demand interviews where candidates recorded their responses at a convenient time and recruiters provided feedback later. And it was a very interesting experience.
It's very funny that you mentioned about the questions like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Because we will have a small surprise for you at the end of the podcast.
I'm curious.
Yes, we ask all of our guests questions that every candidate hates. Typical questions: where do you see yourself in 5 years? Why did you choose this position? Why did you choose our company? So, girls,
So now I have time to think, where do I see myself in 5 years?
prepare yourself while we will discuss other questions. And it's also very interesting was to heard about your experience of hiring in Philippines, because if I get it right, you have a simplified procedure for some types of employment, yes?
Exactly, yeah. We don't check values when we are talking about freelancers and part-time workers, but still there are things which are important for us, and we decided to use a video platform for this, so people could just record answers and then we could give feedback for them.
And how do you track all of your job pipelines of communication with all of the participants of the hiring process, including hiring manager and candidates? Is it all in one place or something else?
Yeah, we have two different systems. We have one applicant tracking system, which we invented and adjusted to our needs.
Your development team, yes?
Yeah. We have guys who kindly helped us to do this, because speaking about hiring in the Philippines and hiring freelancers, we had special needs and we couldn't find something on the market that could help us, and we decided to develop our own system. And also we have an HR system for tracking applicants.
But it wasn't developed by your software engineers.
Yeah, we have a subscription of one system and the other is our own.
Okay, but the case of the customizable ATS, I think this is the most customizable ATS as it could ever be, because it was created only for your company needs.
Yeah, and you can imagine how many changes we make, and our developers, they hate us because like when you are working, you see that, okay, we can improve this and we need this, and then we go to them and we write them everything we need, and then they have to think how they can implement all these ideas in real life.
Like 2 minutes ago, our developers kindly agreed to develop a platform. 2 minutes later, they hate us.
Typical situation.
Yeah, it's all about the way you start with kindly.
Yeah.
Dedication of a team.
Okay, I think we can go to the next stage of our podcast. We all know that onboarding is essential because it's the first impression employee get by interacting with the company, and onboarding policy often determines how long people stay with your company. Are there any specifics of onboarding and adaptation for people from different countries at Jooble?
You bring up an excellent point, as onboarding and adaptation are critical for retaining top talent. At Jooble, we operate as a remote-first company, so we have already adapted our onboarding policies for remote workers. When we started hiring globally, we didn't need to make many changes. We have a recruitment coordinator who keeps in touch with new hires after the recruiter offers them a job. This person handles everything from shipping welcome boxes to resolving any organizational issues and arranging laptops. Our onboarding process has two components: general onboarding and professional onboarding. The HR team is responsible for general onboarding, which covers everything from explaining how to contact if there are issues with laptops, who to contact when you have some issues, and also who to contact when you need compensation for training or sick leave. The team leader's responsibility is to help new employee adapt to their roles and the team. We also have a buddy program for new team member, where we assign a team member to work with the new hire. This program helps them feel less alone and adapt more quickly. It's an excellent way to break the ice, because when you start working, you may have a lot of questions that you are hesitant to ask your manager. In those cases, you can turn to your buddy for support.
The case of a buddy program sounds really cool, especially when the whole team works remotely, because it's typical situation when you start working remotely in a new company and you just don't know how your colleagues look like. Mm-hmm. And when you at the first time meet at the office, you just don't know who you are.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, this buddy program is really cool, because sometimes when I connect two people, like a buddy and a new remote worker, they get so close together. I never can go and interrupt or somehow interfere. It's something going on, and they are just like friends and discussing, and she's fine. I helped her a lot, and I'm like, whoa, cool.
Easy way to get a working bestie.
Yeah. We pay a lot of attention to how our newcomers adapt, and as a team lead and as someone who's been through it herself, I came as a junior outreach specialist to our company. I know what it feels like to be a newcomer, and it's a lot of questions. It's so many things to learn, and so many thoughts like, I'll never learn that. It's too much information. And that's why I always try to help newcomers adapt as soon as possible. And my main goal in the first week with a new team member is to show them that Jooble is a safe place to ask questions, to create, to generate ideas, to learn and to grow. And I always tell new members of my team that they have a carte blanche for questions, and so they don't hesitate to ask, and they don't have to think their questions are silly. And I always try to persuade them I'm always there to help, and I can say that this attitude always pays off. And I remember when I just became a team lead, 80% of my team worked with me in Kyiv office, but then two new members joined us and worked remotely with from other cities, and I panicked inside because I thought I won't be able to explain anything without a person sitting just by me and with me like pointing at their screen with my pen, explaining how it works. But now it's funny to recall, but at that time I thought I'd go crazy. But very soon more team members starting to work remotely, and by that time we all lived separated by 100 kilometers, and that's how we learned to work together as a team. And even when we were apart, I can say it was easy, but I'm proud of the outcome. And now whenever a new team member joins us, I'm always make sure to find them a supportive buddy, a funny one, who not will only tell them more about Jooble as a company and all that, but also will say things like, I've been there. Yeah, it's not that hard. At right time, in moments of struggle, because I think it's important sometimes to hear that you're not the only person to whose email nobody responded. And it happened to all of us. That's how it looks like and work.
Thank you for these points. I think from your responses, it's like obvious that you treat your employees and even your candidates so closely, with so high responsibility that I think all your candidates see the values of your company. But I still have a question about how did you determine your employer brand values and how you highlight them? Maybe you have some special procedures or some techniques you can share.
Thank you for this question, because I think a lot of companies have corporate values, but not all of them implemented these values in their hiring process, and this is a big challenge. Building a strong company culture with shared values has been crucial focus for us at Jooble, especially as we've started rapidly growing in size. When we had about 70 to 100 employees and big hiring plans, we realized the importance of hiring individuals who share our values and can contribute to a positive work environment. As we spend so much time at work, being among people who share the same values is crucially important. To determine our company values, our top management conducted interviews with top performers and long-term employees to identify what they had in common. From there, we established 5 core values that we believe represent our company culture. I have already mentioned them. These are openness to people, dedication to work, internal locus of control, owner mindset, and development orientation. To ensure that we are hiring individuals who align with our values, we've integrated them into our recruitment process. We even created a system to evaluate candidates' values, which ranges from level A, demonstrating 100% of the value, to level D, not possessing the value. Our values aren't tied to performance, but are instead meant to create a company culture and a supportive work environment. I think it's been rewarding to see how these values have helped shape our company and team at Jooble. When I joined Jooble, I was impressed by the company's focus on values in the hiring process. And as I've been working at Jooble, I've come to appreciate how valuable it's to be surrounded by people who share a similar mindset and approach to work. And it's created a supportive environment where we can collaborate and learn from each other.
Thank you for your answer. And you have highlighted a very interesting point that it sometimes could be really challenging to communicate about employer brand values in the right way and find an option to communicate about these values with candidates so that they will understand these values. And do you guys collaborate maybe with the marketing team, recruitment, HR and marketing in order to create this communication about your employer brand values?
Yeah, this is not a secret. We have some articles about our values, and candidates can even read this information preparing for the interview. But usually we don't talk about this during the interview, because when I explain all our values at the beginning of the interview, candidate can adjust their answers so they can understand what I want to hear from them. That's why it's very tricky. Yeah, there are a lot of information about our values, what they mean, but usually when a newcomer comes to Jooble, then we have the first meeting where we tell about our corporate values.
Okay, thank you for your answer. And I have one more question about working remote at Jooble, especially about team management. So how to manage a team that works from different countries?
All I can say, for me, it's all about setting clear expectations and agreements within the team. Because when you are in the office, you always see what everybody is doing. You can communicate. You see each other. Okay, we work together. But when I firstly was in a situation when I work in one city and my team, one teammate in another, somebody in different countries, I was really panicking. But then it was all about really sitting together and talking. We have the same goal. We have this. The same plan. Let's reach it in the ways we can. Let's share our ideas. Please use Slack not only for let's use Slack channel, our main, not only for me posting some info, but also for you to share ideas, to share your plans, to share maybe some cases you need team's help in. And that's really helped. I also always try to make some things outside, not work related. So go to Zoom just with tea to discuss some our lives things and all of that. It's not that I'm trying to make a family out of my team, but I'm trying to build a community. So that we share some hobbies, ideas. We have people who like the same kind of books or same kind of movies. It's not that all of us are like twins, but we just can use the time to discover more about the people we work with. Because in office it was really easy. We had parties. We could learn who we are in the team. And then when every new remote worker joined, I realized that they don't know who. I know that my team member Roma is amazing dancer, but I know it because I saw him on the parties and we talked, and someone new doesn't know that, and it's a pity because they could discuss it. And so and when I know that all my teammates know it's also a community which will accept any troubles together, or we'll just make sure that we help in all ways we can, it's easier for them to overcome any trouble that may occur, and to communicate more and to achieve more. That's what I think it works like. I'm not sure that it is, but I prefer to think so. We have meetings weekly where we discuss plans and all on, but I don't believe that it can work only in that way when you just work from 9 to 6 and you only work related, and then at 6 p.m. you're like, okay, bye, till morning. I don't want to hear from you. It's not that way.
Yeah, that's true. I think that team building, everything related to the team spirit, it can be related only to the system structure and the strict schedule, because sometimes it's all about the vibe in the team, about communication.
So we have a vibe where we work hard, but always have fun hard also. When somebody in my team during the work meeting starts makes a joke, even if it wasn't planned, it just saying, I don't do things let's stop that and back to the point. Yeah, we'll discuss the point later. But now we have time when we can really spend it together, and we will see each other once a week. Okay, I see them 1-to-1. But all together we just gathering once a week, and why not using this time to also build some relationships, so to say.
That's cool. I suppose that Lena just has made a great promotion of the
we work hard as well
of her team.
And you mentioned team spirit and engagement, and maybe you have some online team building activities. But because as you mentioned, in the office it's quite easier to create some parties and something like that. And when you work online and remote first, so what online team building activities can you offer to your team members?
I've tried a few online team building activities, but they always can be hit or miss. It's either you all enjoy, or then you all just discuss in Zoom afterwards that it was awful, never again. But we've done quizzes, quests, and other games, and sometimes they're really enjoyable, I would say so. But other times they fall flat. And I always try to read reviews and do my research before committing the team to an activity, because it's not that easy sometimes. But there is always a level of unpredictability with online activities. But one thing that worked really well for us was an online version of the game Mafia. It was 12 of us. Almost nobody could play from our team like before, but it was a lot of fun and we really enjoyed it. And also during meetings, sometimes I use icebreakers like unpredictable questions. There are a list of icebreaker questions which we can just ask each other in the end of the meeting. If I see that the team is not tired and they have time and I have time, we can discuss them. It's also a lot of fun because and a great possibility to know each other better.
I have some friends in remote first companies all over the world. And it's funny because from their experience, I see that in fact, the best team building for online teams result in offline team buildings. Like they all work remotely, but then they gather in a camping or go to the vacation together. And I'm like, okay, that works interesting.
Yeah, I think nothing can be better than offline activity.
That's true.
Yeah, half a month ago, maybe I gathered my team to see Lviv, and I was really happy it was possible because now all my team is in Ukraine, at least, not like before. We have to gather them from all over the world, or Europe.
Okay, thank you for your answers, girl. I think that we can go to the next section of our podcast. If we are hiring talks podcast, let's talk a little bit more about hiring. So how do you think, what do candidates need from the vacancy?
It's interesting because it depends on the position, it depends on candidate, but for example, when we are speaking about junior specialists, we highlight things like training, supportive teams, mentoring, and opportunities to grow. We want to show them that we are ready to invest in their career development and that we can help them to get where they want to go. With senior specialists, it's more about giving them the freedom to make their own decisions and really take ownership of their work, because they want to know that we trust them and that we are not going to micromanage them all the time.
And about your requirements to the candidates, what do you determine as the main requirement, like soft skill or hard skills? Because it's the permanent battle of these types of skills. What is more preferred for your company?
Yeah, I think all candidates always want to know what is more important, soft skills or hard skills, what I should pay attention to. But I would say that it varies depending on the industry and the specific role we are hiring for. Like in highly technical fields such as medical research, hard skills and knowledge are likely to be prioritized. But in the fast-paced world of modern IT, soft skills can be just as critical for success as hard skills. At our company, we put a lot of emphasis on assessing candidates' soft skills during the interview process, because while hard skills can be taught through training, it can be quite challenging to cultivate qualities like empathy or openness in a person. Even when we work remotely with employees in other countries, we can still observe whether they are able to provide constructive feedback or acknowledge their mistakes during interactions with colleagues.
Yeah, I also would add that, in my opinion, it's better to find a person with great soft skills and to then help him or her to obtain the hard skills they need rather than the other way around. Of course, it doesn't work for all types of professions, I would say, but all in all, it's the soft skills which will be really important when working under the stress conditions or in the world which changes every day.
Mm-hmm. I'm absolutely agree with you, girls, because I have an experience of interviewing employees to my team, and of course, when you start the interview, you took the great attention to the hard skills of the candidate, but it all ends on the soft skill. It's all about communication. If you can't communicate properly, just in easy way, it doesn't matter how good are candidates' hard skills.
Girls, I hope that your future candidates will prove that they are strategically thinking and they will listen to this podcast to know what skills they need.
Super soft.
Yeah, our podcast is not only for recruiters and HR managers, but also for candidates, just to prepare for interview. Okay, and one more question. So we talked about interview, about hiring process, and it's also interesting to understand where does the responsibility of team leads begin in people management and the areas of responsibility of the recruiter or HR and in the hiring process?
I guess it starts when I talk to a recruiter to tell what I'm looking for in a candidate, and then when I approve, goes further when I approve a candidate for further interviews with our C-level, and after that I just patiently wait for the final decision, and I carefully choose a body if the decision was made, and I choose a body for the new member, and then I approve the offer we sent as a company. But I personally think that from the first working day, I'm fully responsible for the experience of a newcomer at Jooble.
Yeah, I would say that it's always collaboration between a recruiter and a hiring manager. From the first, when I start working on the vacancy, I have a meeting, for example, with Lena, and we discuss everything. And also when a new hire starts working in the company, we also can have some issues or problems which we discuss, and we can always have a talk to discuss these issues. So I would say that it's about cooperation during the whole process.
And I have a question about one hot topic, collaboration partner of many companies now. It's artificial intelligence. I think ChatGPT really became an important, integral part of many team members. And did you feel like ChatGPT had an effect on your daily work? Maybe you use ChatGPT in your work. Can you share some experience?
Yes. So firstly, I have even asked ChatGPT if it can replace a recruiter, and it said no. So I hope
Sounds great.
I hope that I will not lose my job in a few years, months. And it's true that AI can handle many repetitive tasks in recruitment, like screening resumes and analyzing candidate responses. It definitely saves recruiters a lot of time, and it's more efficient. However, I strongly believe that it cannot replace the human touch in recruitment, especially in positions where personal relationships and face-to-face interactions are essential, such as in senior level or executive roles. Speaking about AI, I have found ChatGPT to be an incredibly helpful tool for improving my English communication skills. As a non-native speaker, I often struggle to express myself naturally, so I use ChatGPT to create well-written emails and messages for candidates.
Thank you. I'm agree with you that ChatGPT is just a helpful tool that will improve our work, but not will replace us. Okay, girls. We have warned you at the beginning of our podcast that we have a regular column at our hiring talks, and it's a question most candidates hate. So, who'll be the first, Lena or Tanya?
I can be the first, as I was someone who took Tanya here. I'm also guilty.
Okay, so Lena, why did you choose Jooble, and why are you interested in working on your position?
I chose Jooble back then because it was a Ukrainian company, and for me it was super important to work for a Ukrainian company because I've studied in Germany, and I was suggested to stay there, but it wasn't for me at all. And when I came back, I realized that in Ukraine we can just produce so much cool product and develop them. When Jooble suggested me to try, I was like, okay, I'm totally in, because it was something what was made in Ukraine and developing in Ukraine, but like famous in the world. And it was really awesome. And I've never thought like I did something wrong. It was a wrong decision. And I'm interested in working in the position I am now in, because I like my team. I love them, and we work in outreach thing. It's like communicating with people every day and trying to find a solution to different kind of problems. They are never the same, and it's what is stressful sometimes, but it's very interesting for me because I can't imagine myself doing the same stuff every day, and the challenges we have here are really interesting for me.
I suppose that Lena's answer sounds too inspiring for the column that sounds questions from the questions most candidates hate.
Yeah, because I know what happened. Like, when you come and why do you want to work for our company? And if you were like not aspired to work like, only for this tech company, or you were not fan of like, we have MacPow, and everyone who likes Apple, maybe not everyone, but people who like Apple, they tend to go there because they produce products and develop products for iPhone. But if a candidate just comes and say, I want to work for you, it's kind of disappointing to hear nothing when you ask why you've chosen us. And you just suggested money. Yeah. Perfect.
You have great time schedule. It suits me. Also great reason.
Do you really have apples in your office?
At least it is an honest answer.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have one more question for Tanya. Please tell about a work incident when you made a mistake, a situation you are ashamed of.
To be honest, it's one of our interviews question, and I know that our candidates hate it, but it's usually very interesting to hear how people handle their mistakes. As for myself, I'm definitely not stranger to making mistakes, but I think they are just a part of learning process when you're trying new things or developing yourself. For example, I've had situations where a new hire left company quickly after being hired, and I realized that it's my mistake and I could have done better in the hiring process, but we'll learn through such experiences. But there is one particular weakness of mine that I'm always working on, and I'm very ashamed of it. I'm not great at remembering people's name, and it's bad for a recruiter. I try to take notes, and even I have candidates' name up on the screen during the interview, always in Google Meet, for example, but sometimes I still mix up them. I'm working with people from Brazil, and their names are like uncommon for us, and I can conduct interview, for example, with Vanessa, and then at the end of the meeting I can accidentally call her I don't know, like Anna or something like this. And I feel very embarrassed because we have been talking for an hour. I know a lot about this person. I know a lot.
But you just don't remember her name.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe like it's not very common when I'm talking with people from Ukraine because I'm used to these names, but working with people from different countries, it's difficult, especially pronunciation of names. Yeah.
Yeah, but human errors are typical. Just we can get rid of them at all.
Yeah. Thanks for these answers. We will go back to you in 2 weeks.
Are we accepted? Do we have chances?
Okay, so we can move to the last section of our podcast.
Yeah, sure. The last section is also a regular column of our podcast. It's questions from the followers. So we have discussed some of these questions, but maybe you can just highlight the main points as the answers. So the first one is, what are the challenges in international recruitment?
I would say that firstly, of course, cultural differences, cultural peculiarities, but this is something that we have to be flexible about. For me personally, a challenge is time difference and working with different time zones. And also language barrier, because we conduct our interviews in English, but people can work with other languages. For example, we hire people with English plus German, and their native language can be Portuguese, and of course they speak with different accents, so this is always a challenge.
And how do you handle those challenges that are connected with the different cultural background of the candidates? Maybe you organize some events within the Jooble or something like this.
Yeah, firstly, before launching a recruitment process in a new country, we always read about this country, about their culture, about their peculiarities, but we cannot prepare us for everything.
That's true.
For example, I know that it's common for people from Latin America to late for an interview, and I know that it's okay when we scheduled a meeting for 1 p.m. and a candidate came at 1:30 p.m. This is okay. But I think that we can talk about challenges. There are more challenges not in hiring process, but in working with these people. Because hiring process is more about business communication and all people know how to behave during the interview. So we have similar rules, but when you start working in a team with a person from a different country, there can be challenges.
And you need to somehow to predict those challenges that, for example, Lena as a team lead will face later.
We can try to, but we'll never. Yeah. It's also hit or miss. It's always
it's tricky.
Yeah, and we always not that we always depend on, but we want to believe that our core values help us to determine the people we want to see with us. And then what I see in Slack, because it's like is that a lot of people from other cultures and countries are trying to share their cultures and traditions and the way they work with us in our like smoking room. We have this channel where we can just share infos all across the company, and they try to share, and it's always so interesting to read about their traditions. It's not how we imagine that, and then I don't think it's a big deal to mix different cultures in one team. Not that it's a big deal, but people who are mature and adult, they will accept each other. If they are not mature adult, it's for us a hint to look at that way to see what could go wrong with that.
That's a really good point about the level of maturity.
Yeah.
I've just thought about Netflix series Emily in Paris, and like all the cultural differences they stumbled on there. I wish we saw like HR perspective of this series and how they handle all the processes.
But it was the question of maturity of all of them. Like this Emily who couldn't just accept that it's not the USA, and the other way, like the people from Paris who were not maybe ready to someone from different culture to come there.
And it's important to be flexible also, and not only for the company but for an employee, because when we are flexible, we are ready to accept that there are different people with different mindsets, and this is important.
Okay, and the last one, yes?
In fact, I think that Tanya has already answered this question when she told about flexibility, but maybe you can share maybe one more secret about how can companies support the integration and retention of international employees.
I think companies have to show that they are open to people from different countries, because, for example, we always write on our landing pages that we value diversity, we value cultural differences, and I think it's attracting and appealing for candidates because they understand that we don't have like very strict rules, or we don't have some boundaries. We are very open, and this can be appealing for international candidates.
Okay, girls, I want to say thank you very much for this conversation. It was a pleasure for me, and I suppose for Anna too.
What can Anna say now?
Your tips were really useful, not only for us, but I think that candidates for your vacancies will also find some interesting points for them, and recruiters as well. So thank you, girls, and we wish you all the luck in your recruitment and HR management processes. And to all our listeners, don't forget to like this podcast and set the notification to be the first to listen to the next episodes. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.